I've worked with hundreds of farm families, and I can tell you the one thing that separates a good farm from a great farm, it's not the land, it's not what's on the balance sheet, it's communication. Watch this video to learn more. Hi, I'm Jason Wagner, the farm lawyer. I work with family farmers every single day to help them pass the farm on to the next generation. At my law firm, Wagner Ayler, we've been doing it for over 50 years. I want to talk to you today about something that makes farmers uncomfortable. They're happy to work through some really tough issues, make it through tough years, have those conversations with the lender, you know, even face the possibility of not having operating lines renewed, looking at losses. But there's one thing that they don't like to do, and that's have good, open communication with their kids or the next generation. And I know you're capable of doing it because you come to my office and you talk to me and you say the things that you're feeling or you're thinking. And, I get it. This can be difficult. You've got not only family relations in there, but now you've got a business relationship. And that is what makes farms unique. But it really is the one thing that I see that all of the farms that I work with, the ones that are most prepared to pass to the next generation, not only to just survive, but to thrive, are the ones that have good, regular communication. And sometimes it's not knowing where to start. And I've seen farms fall apart, not because they're not a good farm or that they're not, you know, making money or being profitable or making good decisions, because they can't communicate, because they're not on the same page with expectations, because they don't agree on where this farm's going to go. And if that's not our goal, this is a law firm where our goal is to see the farm move on to the next generation. So what can we do? It's not a legal thing. It's not financial. It just is communication. Okay? So where do you start? One thing I recommend, have regular scheduled farm meetings. I'm not talking about, in passing, seeing each other in the shop and sort of mumbling as you walk by, right? I'm not talking about texting, did you do this thing or that thing randomly and then hoping you get a reply when you need it. I'm talking about you're going to set a time, whatever, call it Wednesday morning at 8 a.m. You're going to be here. I'm going to be here. We make this commitment to each other. There aren't doctor's appointments or dentist appointments scheduled on those days. There's not, oh, I forgot. There's not, whatever, an emergency came up or I'm out getting coffee. Nope. This is a business meeting. You're meeting at 8 a.m. every Wednesday. It doesn't have to be for hours at a time. Set it for 30 minutes. Set it for 20 minutes. I don't care. The point is to hold the meeting, to have it, okay? You can't establish regular communication if you don't do it regularly, all right? And not everybody can communicate so well by just, assuming that they know what the other person's doing. I've brought this idea up and I get the objection of, well, there's nothing for us to talk about. I do my thing and he does his thing and our paths don't cross. You know what? I call bullshit on that because this is a farm. All the paths cross. You may not be doing the same job, but what this person's doing absolutely impacts what somebody else is doing. And you know what? The point is, we don't have to come in there with hard-hitting, needle-moving decisions every single week. Sometimes it's just about making sure that we've established this pattern of communication. So when a critical issue does come up, it's not, how do I approach this? How do I talk about it? How can we move through this without blowing up at each other? Because you already have a good pattern of communication. You already know how to talk to each other. But if you don't start this now, you've missed the opportunity to work through these harder issues. And there are going to be harder issues. Now, I'm not trying to get touchy-feely or woo-woo on you. This is just good business, all right? I've gone through succession planning in my own law firm, And you're darn right, we had regular meetings for years, once a week. Right now, with the vice president of my company, I have regular meetings every single week because it's important. You know, they've got their role, I've got mine. Sometimes we overlap, most of the time we don't. But what one person does impacts what the other person does. And we're both here for the benefit of the organization. And that's not different just because it's a farm. You are there for the benefit of the farm. And if you want to work together and keep this farm going and thriving, you've got to establish good, regular communication. By keeping it regular, we avoid that discomfort. I also like it to be, at least for this meeting, the farmers, okay? If the spouses are not actively involved in the farm, they don't need to be at that meeting. They shouldn't be at that meeting, not in my book, all right? I'm not saying they shouldn't be involved or part of what's going on. I'm saying this is a meeting between the operators, the business owners, or future business owners. You know, later on, at the end of the week, or you know, you can have that spousal involvement, but they don't need to be there for that regular weekly meeting, and shouldn't be if they're not operators, in my opinion. We'll keep them updated in other ways, and or maybe have meetings that are more spread out that includes spouses and other family members. When you start to have these meetings, you develop more trust and mutual respect for each other. And then, you know, we've got a more openness and willingness to talk about the rest of the plan. What does the farm estate plan say? What about the buy-sell agreements? Why do we need a buy-sell agreement? We are all working together to keep this farm going. What we're doing is for the benefit of the farm. So now you've got the trust established, and you can think about, okay, I want to share with my farm heir, you know, what I'm thinking about doing with the farm. And is that going to include that there's an expectation that they would buy you out, or that they would buy out your non-farming heirs? Is there an expectation that they would rent from non-farming heirs? If you've got that better pattern of communication and trust, you're going to be able to have these conversations and not have to make so many assumptions. And again, if you want the farm to thrive, I promise you, the people in your neighborhood who you see growing and thriving, they are having these conversations. They are setting up the estate plan. They're communicating that. So, you know, that's what your farming heir is going to have to compete against. And if you don't want to be in that situation, you want your farm to grow, you know, you've got to move forward and have these conversations. You know, just start it. It might not feel natural at first. Of course, it's not going to. But if you don't kick it off and get the communication going, you risk the farm itself dissolving. So if you've liked what you've heard, check out farmlawyer.com, follow me on Facebook, and subscribe to my YouTube channel.